Hello, I'm back. 2 weeks off, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, some weeks. Had a little moment and decided to have a break, and it's been good. But I'm happy to be back to chat to myself and look at you, look at the screen, and maybe have you look at me. 2 weeks is a long time in the internet. 2 weeks is a long time on hair growth. Looks very good. Still using Jericho Australia products, not sponsored, but hey, great products. Anywho, so just before we go on, thanks for being here. If you're here and you haven't already, just straight away like. It's really cool that you do that. And at the end, yeah, don't like it, take it off. It's all good. Just get in there and get into the habit of going to a channel that you look and subscribe to. And as soon as you see them, just like the video. That makes them feel good, makes everyone feel good who's putting effort into doing stuff, so you can have a little laugh. Today, again, those of you could be offended, don't like what I'm going to say, now's the time to move on, go somewhere else, have another look at a video or whatever. Over the last couple of weeks, and probably a little bit before that, before I stopped my last transmission, I had been going on the carnivore diet, which is why you can see I have no bacon. And I'm not supposed to have any bourbon because it's supposed to be like sugar-free, but where I can sacrifice having bacon in the morning and bourbon in the morning, I can't really sacrifice bourbon in the evening. So I'm doing my bacon and bourbon later in the afternoon. Part of that carnivore diet is fasting. I don't know if you've ever done that, but man, it's actually quite easy. If you're eating meat and only meat, fasting is actually relatively easy. And this big thing out there at the moment, intermittent fasting, sure, everybody's heard of it. It is the bomb. We stop eating at about 8 o'clock at night, and we don't eat again until midday the next day. So 16 hours or so without food. And then, come midday, I'm down there slaving away for Big G. And, it's, I don't even feel like eating. Come up at 12:30, 1 o'clock and think, probably should have something to eat. So my protein intake is really high. Carb intake is relatively low, or almost nothing. But I have abundance of energy. It's unbelievable. I guess this show's not about the carnivore diet, by the way, but I'm just telling you what I've done in the 2 weeks that I haven't been on air. And it's just fantastic. My aches and pains have gone away. I'm losing weight, full of energy, stretching every morning. Oh, I developed a stretching routine. Takes about 10 or 15 minutes, does the whole body. If anyone's interested in that, put a comment and I can do a video. It'd be funny lying, but anyhow, I can do a video of the stretching routine, explain what I'm doing and how it works, and I'll post it up there on Rumble and YouTube so you guys can have a little look at it and follow it and let me know how you feel it goes. I've got a little exercise routine that I do as well at the end of that stretching routine, which is just sit-ups, push-ups, and squats, and I can give that to you as well if you want to have a look at what I do with that. And in that 2 weeks, I've pretty much completed a 50 move soft Tai Chi style exercise for mobility and things like that can progress into and then can be moved into a harder form as well. So it's like a little exercise program. I've been doing exercise, some sort of exercise my whole adult life, and probably since early primary school, and I'm not going to stop it now. So I thought I'd develop these things so I can share with people. So if you're interested, let's have a go. So Daffodil's just got a comment. Hello, Daffodil, how you going? Pure Red Bull. No, V. I use V. Red Bull, come on. V. Daffodil, it's V, not Red Bull. Anywho, moving on. So today I want to talk about the I don't know if it's a big thing at the moment, but there's this whole thing about binary, right? And I was a computer programmer, and I understand binary is zeros and ones. Like it's on or off. It's one or the other. It can't be multiple. So I saw this. What I did in the last 2 weeks, just digress a little bit. I got rid of a whole lot of subscriptions that I was following. That was sort of why I stopped. I was overloading me. This stuff that was coming out was bombarding. It was just unbelievable. I'd say crap, but it's real in the world today. But I stopped a lot of those subscriptions and I followed a couple of new ones. And these are more funny than they were. A little political, but very funny. One in particular was Bearing. I don't know if you know Bearing, and his wife's come out with another one, been doing it for a while, called Sugar Tits, and they are just absolutely hilarious. really, really on point, but make you laugh. And that's an entertaining type of podcast that brings things up. And one of those things they said, and that's, I'll put the link, I'll put in the description what who they are and where they go to. But I think they're on Rumble and all the other ones as well, Rumble, YouTube. But yeah, Sugar Tits and Bearing, just have a laugh. And Sugar Tits, she can just slip these words in there that, cannot change the letters a little bit. You'll understand what I mean. And she just slips it in, just hilarious. Anyway, so back to binary, and this whole term of non-binary, and I'm not so sure what that means. So you're either one or the other. So for me, old school, not so sure where things going. I'm going with it's either left or it's right. And as my left arm comes to my center line, it's still left. When it moves from my center line and goes to the other side, it then becomes right. So it's sort of like it's left or right. It's like you're either up or you're down. Like I'm going upstairs or I'm going downstairs. If I'm doing nothing, I'm on the line. Like I'm not going anywhere. So if I'm up or down or left or right or top or bottom or male or female, it's like it's binary. It's not rocket science, It's like what I'm finding really frustrating is like yin and yang. Like it's half black, it's half white. It's like a little bit of black, a little bit of white, but it's still binary. There's not a third color in there. There's not like a blue, because it just doesn't work that way. So what I'm finding in this is, and in the last couple of weeks, and the realizing of the binary, is that what's making it difficult for me, and I don't know if it's making it difficult for you, but again, comments. The line between left and right, or up and down, and top and bottom, or male and female, was always a fine line. It's always this fine line between one and the other. And that line in the middle is now getting broader and broader and broader and broader. So almost to the point where I feel the identity of one and the other is almost becoming lost. This is like moving into what other parts I'm talking about in the binary, in the political realm. Here in Australia, we've got a two-party system, and I think that's the same in America, and it's probably the same in the UK and other parts of the world that have, like, it's a binary political system. We've got Liberal and Labor. Labor is our left and Liberal is our right. We've currently got I don't even bloody know. Like, fuck, they're so close now, I don't even give a shit. I think it's a Labor, so I think it's a left wing. No, it's definitely left. But the party before was Liberal, and they were almost left as well. So it's like, yeah, that line between the binary of left and right now is just so big. It's like it's so huge that we don't know whether we are one or the other. And that one in the middle, for those who in the political realm, here in Australia, we've got the Independent Party, the One Nation Party, Australia One Party, the legalised marijuana party, and drugs for herpes people. I don't know. There's so many fucking parties. It's unbelievable. But in the end, all of these people, like the legalised marijuana party, has a preferred. If they don't get in, their votes go to someone else. Like, let's say the marijuana party, they don't get in, but they've got 1,000 votes, and their votes, well, their preferred voting, or they want a preferential voting. They want to send it to the One Nation Party, and One Nation Party gets 1,000 votes. And if they've got 10,000 votes, all of a sudden they've got 11,000 votes, and that 11,000 votes is not enough to get them into a seat or a part of the parliament. Their 11,000 votes goes to either Liberal or Labor, wherever they want to send their preferred voting system. So with all of these things in the middle between our Liberal and our Labor Party, it ends up being Liberal or Labor anyway. So that line between having all of these things in the middle and saying we're not Liberal or Labor is sort of like it's a furphy, because it's either Liberal or Labor. And I'm not so sure if that's what happens in America, but again, give me a comment, educate me. I think it'd be nice to try and find out why this is there. But this line between, let's just take it into the most obvious one at the moment. I don't want to go down the line too much, but the male and female line, actually, I'll leave that for a second. I'll tell you I'll give you a little story. In Australia, just take it back. Not in Australia, it's like everywhere in the world. Again, back to this binary. I have a brain. It's one brain. We can all agree with that. but it has a left and a right hemisphere. Undoubtable. We all know that. That's biological. Can't change it. My heart, I got one heart, but I got a left and a right side of that heart, like the major arteries go in left and right, and they do what they've got to do. You can argue that there's ins and outs, which makes it 4 bits, but really it's left and right part of the heart. I've got a left and right lung. I've got a left and right kidney. The liver, believe it or not, is one thing, but it's got a left and right lobe. Like it's left and right. It's everywhere. It's all part of the body parts of our system. But what makes it one system is the understanding that it is left and right that makes the one. I think we agree with that. Yin and yang is the same thing. The masculine and the feminine energy in the yin and yang make the one unity of the whole. You can't have too much left and you can't have too much right. You've got to have the balance, right? So working into the story of the day is here in Australia, we've got a racing car series. It's called the V8 Supercars. And I'm a huge fan of the V8 Supercars. And I've been watching the V8 Supercars for as long as I can remember. And I'd go back to late 60s and early 70s in the V8 Supercars, and it was not really popular. People watched it, and enthusiasts did, and I was one of those. And they had a multitude of cars. There were Fords, and there was Mustangs, and there was Cortinas, and there was Mini Minors, and there was Valiants, and there was Dodgers. They had Holdens. They had all these different cars in this supercar series. I don't think it was called the supercars in those days, but anyway, they were all racing, and it was sort of scattered. It was all over the shop, and you didn't know who to go for, and nothing really went. And someone in the early 70s decided, let's get rid of all of those other cars, and let's just make it Ford and Holden. And Ford and Holden it was it. That was, you got your team, you followed Ford, you followed Holden, you picked your favorite driver, and they raced, and they did all these wonderful things. And you're a Ford driver, you never went to Holden. It was unspoken of. And you're a Ford fan, you just never supported Holden. There was this rivalry which made this series just grow. It was absolutely monumental. Television came, more technology came into it because of the rivalry of Ford versus Holden, and Holden fans and Ford drivers and Holden drivers, and hats and shirts and everything. Just fantastic for the series, fantastic for this sport. Someone in the mid, might have been early 80s, but again, Holden, the V8 Supercar fans, tell me in the comments, because I'm not going to do the research anymore. I want you to give me the information so I grow from your stuff. Might have been early 80s. I'll take that back. Some person, whatever, decided, well, hey, why don't we just open it up again? Let's make it a racing car series with the A series and the B class and the C's, whatever. And they had BMWs were brought in, and twin-turboed Nissan GTRs, and the Ford Sierras were racing, and the Commodore was there, and so was the Falcon, and that rivalry that had built for those years in the 70s just was like automatically lost. And for the period of them running that series, and can't remember the name of the series because I don't give a shit, don't give a rat's ass. It just lost, and I stopped following it. I just lost interest in it. And some of the cars look really cool, and the arguments between the twin turbos, unfair racing against the single turbo, and all-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive. And it's like, I was just over it. And then they decided to pull it back. They reined it back, and they brought back the Ford and Holden series. And I tell you, within not even one season, not one series, it just blew out of proportion. It was just unbelievable. Fans came back, the rivalry started, it just grew. Then the unbelievable happened, and it might have happened, but it happened to a big racer, a huge racer, a prodigy. We have a racing driver here who's just lauded as the king of the mountain, and that's Mount Panorama in Bathurst. His name is Peter Brock. He was a Holden driver from the very beginning, nothing but Holdens, all the way through, series champion, legend driver. Unfortunately, died early in the car accident in Perth. But he had a prodigy called Craig Lowndes, and he had the smile that would break hearts. He was just the epitome of an ambassador for a V8 supercar. And He was a Holden driver, raced for the Holden dealer team, raced for years, and shock, horror, he transitioned. Craig Lowndes transitioned. He moved to Ford, and it was one of the biggest shocks in the V8 supercar series at the time. Lost so many fans. Holden were despondent and sad. Ford were elated. They got Craig Lowndes, and some Ford people went over to support Craig Lowndes, and he did some wonderful things. And he won some championships, I think, with Ford, and lots of races with Ford. But believe it or not, he had regret. Craig Lowndes had regret. And later on, don't know when, but Craig Lowndes detransitioned. He went back to Holden. And, Holden fans rejoiced. Yeah, we got Craig back. Some Ford fans went, lost Craig Lowndes. But then they didn't follow. They didn't go back to Ford. They just stayed with Ford, but they picked another driver. And it was just fantastic. He went back to what he was, a Holden driver. I think you can see the sort of what I'm slipping in here, and it's all related. Later on, we had another fantastic racing driver who had the same charisma as Craig Lowndes, and that was Chas Mostert. He was a Ford driver is still a Ford driver, but he was a Ford driver from the beginning, went through Formula Fords into the early parts of the Ford driving, and believe it or not, he did a Craig Lowndes. He transitioned as well. He went over to the Holden racing team, won some races, maybe even won, the great one, the big race, Panorama V8, Bathurst. But again, regret. He detransitioned. He moved back to Ford, and he's back with Ford. So I guess what I'm sort of getting here is, in the grander scheme of things, you're either left or you're right. You're either up or you're down. This middle thing is sort of like an illusion. I don't want to go back into the flavour of the month, but I actually would go with not much doubt that not very much further on from here, this bullshit phase we're in at the moment with expanding that middle line between left and right and male and female it's just going to blow out. It's just going to go. People are going to realise that, hey, you are what you are. You honestly, and I don't know, because I didn't make a choice. I don't know where I'm going with this. I was born male. I'm a man. I could have chosen to be anything else. No, I couldn't. I'm a man. I could wear ladies' clothes. I can make that choice. I can ask you to call me Davida, and you would do that because you respect me as the person I am. And I can wear ladies' clothes, but I'm still a man. I can't question that. And I can have all the operations, but everyone knows that you're still a man. You can choose to identify any way you like. And I want to get down. It is absolutely your choice. I can be a man and decide as a man I'm attracted to women. I can decide I can be attracted to man, but I can't be attracted to non-binary, because what the hell is that? I can't be a non-binary. I'm man or woman, attracted to whatever. But to me, it's a software issue. It's a choice you make. Issues in your life may make that happen. I had a friend or an acquaintance I knew years ago who was straight. Can't say as straight as me, because I'm straight, right down the line straight. But he had issues in his life. He had problems with women, and he married a couple of times, and just was always women just gave him a serve. Hey, they just treated him so badly. Maybe because he was a little bit of a soft man and his choice. And one time after quite a big breakup, he went out to a pub and didn't realise what the pub was because he was drunk, and it was a gay pub. And some man gave him support and gave him the exact support that he wanted at the time. And he thought, well, this man knows me. He knows what I want. He probably even knows how to please me because he's a man. As heterosexual couples, it's really hard for a man to know exactly how to please a woman. And I'm sure it's really hard for a woman to know. No, it's not. It's really easy for a woman to know how to please a man. Come on, it's so easy. It's not debatable. But it is for men, So he went, I never knew how to please a woman. This man knows how to please me. Yeah, I'm gay. So he made the choice at that point to be gay. I know the gay people out there, and please, I'm not having a go. I respect you all. I've got lots of gay friends. I don't know whether it's a choice, and they'll argue it isn't, but somewhere I think in their past deep, dark experience of life, something happened, and it became a decision early in life. And I don't believe anyone is born anything but the gender they're born into. And something happened at an early stage in a life and experience that you'd have no idea about. And at that point, a conscious decision was made. And that's the path that was chosen. So I guess I want to, get back to that the idea of this is that it is a choice that we make. Back to the binary. Sorry, I digressed. I don't want to keep a lot of time on this, but politics is a binary thing, left and right, yes and no. Oh, yes and no. Oh. There we go. That's where I'm going with this. Yes and no. I have a friend, another story, because we love stories. I have a friend who was out of a relationship for 6 years, wanted a partner, met someone, instantly fell in love, which we know what that is, the word for it, had sex and fell in love with it, and told me he wants to marry this person, but, was having doubt. And I've always had this saying, and it's not mine, of course, because I don't know if many people have an original idea anymore, but I've always said, when in doubt, go without. If someone has to sell you on an idea, then the idea is a pretty bad idea. Needless to say, this person ended up marrying this woman because he didn't listen to the word of when in doubt, go without. There was doubts he had with her, but he went with it because, he ended up having a child with her, and now it's turned to crap, and he's depressed, he's unhappy, it's just all over the shop. So again, I suggest when in doubt, go without. And moving to that next part of that, if someone has to sell something to you, then it's probably not really right for you, and go without. We're having this thing at the moment coming up, and I've got this in the mail box today, and it's not today, sorry, this week, which is why I'm doing this. I don't know how many pages it was. It's absolute crap. In Australia, we've got this thing, 20 pages of absolute bullshit, right? Absolute bullshit. And the amount of money it would have taken, and I've got to say, they've saved a few dollars here because they've gone on to, it's not almost tissue paper material, but it's the pros and cons of this thing we're having at the moment called The Voice. And the government at the moment, who is a very left government, is really, really pushing this agenda. They're pushing it so hard that I'm going with, there's something sinister in it, because there's no need to push something this hard if it's right. And you know it, you feel it. If something's right, oh, that's right, you just do it. If someone asks you to do something and they're selling it to you and you go, I don't know, and they convince you of it, then you've got to know, when in doubt, go without. This is wrong. It's the I don't know who it was, Peter of Sky News did this thing, an 11-minute thing. I'll try and find the link and add it to the description at some point, talking about this. And Albanese, who's our current leader, whatever, says there's only one page, an A4 thing of the information about The Voice. And under the Freedom of Information Act, there's Peter Grenlin, I think her name is, I can't remember. She researched and found out there's actually 26 pages. And there's so many things in there that if this gets through, then, as a free speech, as a nation, we're pretty much screwed. So this thing, I don't believe you need to read it. I mean, you can if you want to, by all means, the pros and the cons. But like anything that's written by a political party or a winning country in a battle, they'll write what you want to write. They'll emphasize the things that they disagree with and say, this is what the no side is saying, and they'll only give you part of it, and they fill it out in a whole page with absolute rubbish, fluff, the words that they'll use, but they'll pinpoint all of their positives on there, but they'll lose all of the fluff that's necessary, because that's important. One of the things that was important to understand in that was that if there's a 2-question part of the ballot, I believe, and like again, we don't know for sure. One of it says, do you support the Indigenous, or do you recognise the Indigenous people? If you tick yes to that, and then you go, do you support the voice, and you go no, well, that yes tick overrides your no vote. So you're going to have to suck it up a little bit and go, do you identify, or do you, I don't even know what the bloody wording is, do you identify the Indigenous One Nation people? Something. And you go, well, yes, they're part of our country. Like no different to I identify with the Muslims that are in our country. Of course, who doesn't? The Aboriginals are a part of our country. I understand. I support the Aboriginal people. No question. Indigenous, well, yeah, okay. So that's a word you use. You can call it whatever you like. They're the first people here. Great. Well, we were the second people here. Well, that's okay too, you know. So tick no on both of those. And remember that we want to try and bring our left and right into a clear line here. So we know in Australian politics that the left side of politics spends unbelievable amounts of money, and then we feel bad, unbelievable amount of tax, everything's turned to crap, and we vote the right side of the politics in, and they fix it all up. And we get to a point where everything's really, really good, and we go, oh, this is so good, I think we need a change. So the left side decide to say, well, if you vote me in, we'll reduce taxes and we'll give more money to the unemployed. We go, yeah, that sounds great. And we vote them in and it turns to shit again. So in my experience, I actually don't know. Comment, please, let me know, because I'm not going to do the research. I want you to tell me, has there ever really been a successful left-wing political party? I look at the American Party at the moment, absolutely so far left. I don't even know if it's turning around to I don't know. So far, it's unbelievable. The political party before, I'm not going to mention names because, like, you know, who cares? I'm not advertising for, you know, that game. Anyway, I'm not advertising for it, but he brought everything around. It was absolutely fantastic, to the point where the left side said it's so bad we were trying to cut it down and voted them back in. They just destroyed it. The 8 years before that, which was left, was yay, because it was a person that we all wanted in, but did absolutely bloody nothing for the country, as far as I can tell. Now, the left side will say he did fantastic things. The right side, he'll say he did nothing. But I know around that time when that person was in, before the last person was in, a lot of people on the left went independent, and which means that they're the maybe line. And, you know, I was going to give you my best Yoda impersonation, but you know, you're either left or you're right. You can't be other. You know, you either do or you don't. There's no try. You know, you're either doing it or you're not. You're either left or you're right. You can be independent if you want, but you swing one way, like we all know that for sure. But anyway, so that's binary. I have no music for you today because, you know, I didn't do the research. However, if you want me to do the music thing again, do a song, I'd really like to get your information, so put that in the comments below. I noticed there's some people on Rumble doing some chats, and I'm sorry I haven't been looking at it because, you know, one thing at one time, even though I like to think I'm multitasking. But I know as a computer person, it's either on or it's off. It's zeros or one thing, not all things. Can't multitask. That's why you would have a producer, and I don't have one. Maybe one day when I have all of the money coming in from everyone subscribing and all the ads I get from these YouTube and Rumble videos, that I got money to get a producer. Anywho, moving on. I'm finished. I'm done. It was a short session, half an hour. Perfect. I think that's a great time. Jericho Australia, have a laugh today. Finish watching this. Have a look at Bearing and Sugar Tits. If I find another funny site like that, if you've got ones in there that are, you know, on point, but funny on point, not, you know, political and all that sort of stuff, put some link, give me the in the comments, and I'd like to have a look at some of those so I can change my flavour. Looking at a lot of woodworking videos, really excited about that too. Anywho, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Like, share, tell people. That'd be great. I will be back next week, I hope. If not, I'll be back the week after. I'm not going to do exact weeks. I'll just do it as I see fit, and I'll let you all know. I'll try and get my face into TikTok thing up running so that I can, you can subscribe to those or follow those and you get the information up ahead. But for now, I'm signing off. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy your journey. And remember this one down here, take responsibility and own your shit. Because if you don't, nothing will happen. Hashtag Trails on everything that you do. Have a really, really great weekend and enjoy your journey, guys.